Okay, we're slowly getting started here. I'm kind of surprised the number of people joined today because aged invoices isn't the most exciting part of the system. But if you're running a business, sometimes income is an exciting point. So I guess I get that point. But anyway, very happy that everyone's is sharing a little bit of your time to basically talk through the invoice system or the aged invoice with Oasis. And part of this, or a good chunk of this, is actually a new tile that's available with the online version of Oasis. I'm personally a big fan of it. I've been able to play with it for a while now, and as an owner looking for cash flow and everything like that, we'll get to this in a minute. It's become very quickly one of my favorites anyway, just kind of see what's going on in there. And there are some others that we might talk about later. But anyway, let's get into this a little bit. There is William listening in. He's on our sales team. He's already posted once in the chat there. This is very open and informal as normal. Really, just this is for you to share information, show what we're working on, get feedback more than anything else, questions on how we can do better on things. And anyway, interrupt or send a text over, or sorry, a chat over to William, and he'll interrupt me uh, saying, hey, here's some important stuff. If you just have questions or want him to give a follow up or something like that, just post that in there and he'll take care of you after the meeting. All right. So, real quick, we're dealing with this today. I know the rest of you all probably are used to all the
It's
snow and
okay.
everything like that, but this is new for us. We're not really used to this type of stuff, but this is our building today, and a lot of people working remote. So hopefully y'all are staying warm if you got hit with the with the Arctic blast or whatever they're calling it here. And I know everyone from Canada. I think I saw at least one name on there from Canada laugh at us, but this is not normal for us, so that's okay. All right, real quick. The Today we're talking about the aged invoice reporting and a new tile. And really, the focus of the resale side of the house. Later in the year, I'm going to have one over commissions. There's a lot of neat tools that we have and some one we're building on. And I want to put that together as basically one piece of just for the reps and folks on this. So this is really good for the distributor version of Oasis, manufacturer version of Oasis, and even the rep version of Oasis. If you're doing resale and just trying to keep an eye on all the customer orders that you have out there. So talk about report uses here is kind of our agenda. And then we'll talk about the desktop report and the online tile that's being rolled out. And it's available, I think now. No, it's this coming weekend. I think it's when all the servers update, and then you'll be able to use the tile. All right. So let's jump to the first part. So report uses. And this is true, by the way, for the other report I hint at with the reps. It's just when you're doing a commissioned order, it's a little different, mostly because it's not your invoice. Here we're actually tracking the invoices. More on that in that other webinar. But the traditional use is, did we get the invoices out? That's a big one around here is, beginning of the month or whenever you have your time frame. It's kind of nice to look at the report and say, okay, we got them out. And I like seeing a total there. If the total's within what I expect, then yeah, we got them all out or we got a good chunk of them, among other things. And then collections, obviously, you're looking at anything over 90 and find out, hey, what's going on here? How can we go back and get that? So that's the two major traditional uses of it. I also see a lot of our customers use it as a mechanism to engage the outside sales force as well. So if you have a customer that's not paying or a project's not being paid on for some reason, you can print just those invoices, give them to the outside salesperson and say, hey, could you check up and see what's going on here? Just contact the customer and see what's going on there. Kind of a nice item. And then, like I keep hinting at, we'll talk more about the commissions aging a little bit later. All right, management use, issues with customer not paying. That's just kind of another flavor of that, but you can kind of watch that walk up and then start trying to figure out how you can strategize that as an owner and or manager as the case is. Upcoming cash flow, obviously, everyone, whether you admit it or not, if you have the aging, whether it's well, this is the resale side. I watch that because I know if things are a little soft on the aging, then it's going to be a little soft later. And then you have cycles. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. And just the general business trend, is it cyclical or things generally trending up or down or whatever the case is. And then it's kind of a confirmation because you should have already been seeing this on the order side and the quote side. But this is definitely at the end of the game here and confirms everything else you may be feeling. All right, let's get into it. Desktop report. So We have an older report. I'll show that first, and I hope I'll come back here in a minute. I'll just kind of do the overhead on this, and then we'll just jump into the system, and then we'll do the online tile here in a second. But the desktop report, we have an old age invoices report. I'll use it first. It's still great. It's easy to use, and a lot of folks actually still use it. And it will be kept around. In other words, it's not one of them that we're going to get rid of, but it will get a UI refresh, especially as we pull that into the online version of Oasis. So right now it's desktop only, but it's about to become both. And the invoice summary report, it's a little harder to use. I want to go through it briefly. Again, I don't want to spend a long time on this, but if you need training on how to use the summary reports and the summary report builder inside of Oasis, we can really dig into that. And I'll touch on some of that today. But the neat part about it is once you understand how to do that, you can build the report your way. I'll get into that a little bit. And the UI will remain the same and will be in the online version this year. It's due out before the middle of the year, actually. So what am I talking about? Let's jump into Oasis real quick. So inside the invoices section here, the easiest one to run is under reports, aged invoices. And through here, by the way, the bigger reports like this, I do recommend outputting the PDF. It just runs faster. Online, that's pretty much your only option. The print preview does work, and if you know that you're only doing a few pages, it's actually faster. But as memory use goes up as you select this, then you end up with a scenario where it just takes a lot of memory. It slows everything down. So anyway, you have H in, you can name this and store it if you want later. I usually just go here and run it because it's literally click on resale and then print it. And we'll do that here in a second. Now you can, if you choose to restrict it to manufacturer customers, in this case, it's more probably with resale, you probably want to restrict it to customers, especially if you have the scenario I was talking about before. You want to engage the outside sales force and say, hey, this customer's at paying, could you go talk to them? And also, as part of that same conversation, if you want to select down to a specific project, you can go in here and find, the project name and use that to identify just those invoices. Again, print that or email it over to your salesperson and say, hey, go talk to them about this project and see what's going on there. Okay, so that's all the just general parts. Let's just print it and see what's going on here. So do a print and takes a second here. Go ahead and open it. All right, so what you're looking at here, it's a traditional aging report, not too much neat or whiz bang about it. It's just the report a lot of you have seen out here. But the main thing we're trying to do is show the invoice number, the transaction type. So by the way, the transaction type on this is going to be like invoice, and we have different kinds of invoices inside of Oasis. You can also see in some cases a payment in here as well, and that's a different conversation I'd probably like to talk about later, but usually transaction type comes up with some folks out there. Who's the customer, the PO number, the invoice date, and sorry about our long names here, the due date, and that's what's going to form the aging matrix over here. The rep split, in other words, who's on it. And again, there's only so much room on this older report, so it kind of just jams as much of it as it can. And then the invoice amount, total amount, and then what's open. So if you have something that is, $1,000 here, it may show $100 still open in whatever column that that invoice should appear for the open amount on the invoice. That's all it is. We're doing under 30, 30 to 60, 61 to 90, over 90, and then the total basically it's just confirmation of it, if you will. Commission, by the way, invoice commission, you can drop that out. That's just the invoice. So since all these are resale, we will show the invoice commission on this one simply to kind of cross check and see how much earnings are on there from either a commission or a resale side. So that does show on this screen or on the older report. I don't use that as much. I simply use the the totals on there. So any questions over the old report out there? It's been around for a while and still works. What I like about it is it's really easy to just point, shoot, and it's done. Okay. Now, the getting into other reports here. So let me go back into reports. And sorry, I'm on a Mac for you Windows users. I'm just a Mac person. I don't know. And I didn't flip on the VM for this. But desktop works on either Mac or Windows. And I'll show you the browser stuff here in a second as well. All right, so let's go into, actually, I already have this one built up. So if you go into reports and then you go into customizable invoice listing. And oh yeah, it's showing over here. Well, I'll just build it from scratch. That's fine. We do reports, customizable invoice listing. I was trying to be fancy and have it all pre-done, so I'll just start from scratch again. So what we have here is our, 5 little bots over here, 5 little sections. Once you figure them out, they're pretty easy to work with as far as setting up the report. But they are kind of odd. And what I like about the previous report is you can just get in and start running it. Downside is a lot of our customers have gotten fairly sophisticated over the years, and they want to get in and turn things in certain ways. Most of it is centered around the selection here, and I'll just do the basics for today to make a aging report. So to get into an aging report, basically you want to make sure you only want the new ones. Basically, when you receive payment against one, it'll close it out once it's complete. In other words, it has all the payments against it. And I only want the sell side. I don't want the buy on the vendor side or the commissioned. And by the way, I'm running in a rep mode, so I can show all this. And that's pretty much it here. Now, you can actually change your invoice date and go further back, depending upon what your window is you want to run on. Here, we actually use Oasis. We quote eat our own dog food. That is we use Oasis to run the business, just like our customers, and it really helps us stay focused on what works and what doesn't work. But we basically reset this and run it wide open. This is a test database. We get a lot of junk in there, but normally I leave this wide open because if we do have an invoice that is taking a while to get paid for reasons, we'll stay there. I want it to stay on the report. Okay. And there's other selection criteria, but main one is we only want the new invoices. We don't want the closed ones because they've already received it, or we've decided to give up on that when we're closing out the invoice and we're just gonna keep it in there in case we get paid, but we don't expect it for whatever reason. We only want the sell ones, and that's it. Hit OK. That's going to give me about 57 invoices. And then I can group it. Again, this is another area where a lot of our customers get fairly sophisticated on us, and we try to add as everything that people ask for. But right now, I'll just use customer. So I'm going to break this into sections by customer, groupings by customer, and then sort. I like invoice number myself. And again, we keep adding entries here based on customer feedback on it. You see sales accounts in there a couple of places too. Again, the main reason for that is it gives us the opportunity to run this by a salesperson as well. You can split it out and give it to the salesperson that's covering that area, that particular job. And then work groups a biggie as well, because a lot of the agencies and distributors have always been multiple offices out there. Filter, we won't use that today. I'll skip that. And then the layout, obviously in an aging report, I want my 30, 60, 90. And there's a couple of tricks here. First of all, I don't want the commission side of this because I'm just doing a simple resale aging.
Did you drop your tablet?
Oop. No, I had a question there. Oop. And what I'll do is just have the invoice sell amount, full sell amount, 30, 60, 60 to 90. And over 90. Now, what's nice is running this report, I can run it on what the invoice is, basically for following up and monitoring the income that we're due. But sometimes we end up with wanting a slightly different version of this. In other words, the material sale, what's the cost of the material? The invoice sale is going to have tax and everything else on it. So again, if I'm doing accounting, I'd want to see probably the invoice sell amount simply because that's what I'm looking for, the total amount plus tax plus shipping and everything else. Material sales, nice in that if I'm trying to match a report, and this is another variation on this report, I might want to run it and more closely resemble what the factory's seeing. And that will actually show the material value, and that won't include taxes or anything else like that. And the last one I want to show on this is earnings. Credit, where'd I put that? Yeah, earnings. So earnings 3060. This is actually requested by one of our customers. So what's nice about that is, yes, this is the amount that we're going to get in, but how much of our earnings are on that? So if we don't get paid, again, we've already paid the vendor, but if we don't get paid, what does our earnings look like after we pay the vendor on these invoices that are due us? So again, that's another neat little feature their customers added there. Okay, there's a lot of other features in here, but the main thing is pick the columns you like. If you didn't make a big deal of it because it's just kind of habit over here, but I usually flip over to landscape. Simply it gives me a little more room on the report. Otherwise, I'd have to go through and figure out what else I want to drop. So I'll just go wide open on this one and show it. And actually, I probably could get rid of customer because I'm going to group it by that, but we'll skip that for today. All right, hit OK. And again, I'm going to go to a PDF file because this could get rather large. Print with 2 here. And that showed up. Nice. All right. So uh, again, junk data in here. It's all over the place. But the main thing is it's showing exactly what you expect. Under 30, 30, 60, 61, 90, over 90. And there's just a lot of weird stuff in this database. So it's probably left out one of the columns there. Oh, I know why. I picked the wrong column, I think. Nope, I did. I did the right one. I think I left one out. Under 30, 30, 60, 61. Think I left one out. That's the hardest part about some of these. Nope. I missed one. I had them all earlier. So, and unfortunately, I'm in the middle of my brain is not doing this right today. Go back in there real quick. Nope. I'm just not seeing, I'm seeing what I want to see, not what I'm seeing. So there are values on here. They're just kind of scattered all over the place. And this is an odd duck that I have over there. And that's pretty much it. Any questions? I mean, it's just uh, giving you control over what the report looks like. You can move stuff around, change the parameters. And that's one thing that makes this one actually kind of harder to use. It makes it more difficult is one way to put it, but it gives you a lot of latitude on it. And do call us if you have questions on this. And we get a lot of calls on, well, how do I do this on these types of reports? And we can help guide you through setting these up. Most people, once they do get it set up, is they'll go ahead and save it. So I'll put in webinar or something like that. Two, and I'll go ahead and save that. And then it's saved into the report section so I can run it without having to go through all the setup parts. And if you haven't done that before, it's under reports. And there's my age invoice too. So there's the first one I did. So, all right. Any questions? I think I see the commission sales from vendors. I'm excluding commissions for today. The only reason why I'm doing that is there's a whole nother conversation that I have on the commission side, and we have some really nice tools on that, and some new ones coming out as well. But this is mostly for the resale side of the house. Now, having said that, if you have a resale order, we do track both the commissions and the margin or profit, if you will, on both sides of the order. So
They're asking when, Brian.
when have to ask your boss. She's the one that tells me what to do. So, but yeah, I'm wanting to get it done before mid-year because there's just a lot of nice tools in there, and she just has to um, decide when. So I'm going to push her a little bit because I think it's very important to get to done. So, all right, any other questions? All right, so I'll let you handle the rest of those.
How do we get registered for the commission webinar?
That's you. Um, once she sets it up, it'll be a newsletter item out there. You just click on it and out it goes. She only sets those up a month and prior. So, but William, you might go ahead and get her information and make sure that Trinity make sure that individual's ready to go. Okay. All right. So now let's go to the tile side. So in Oasis Online, you have tiles in here. And we keep adding more and more of the reports as well. The 2 reports I have right now, one of them is in the process of being loaded into the online version. That's the more complex one. So I can't show that to you today on the online version. And the older one will be ported over as just part of our standard stuff. It's just a nice, neat old report that's easy to run. But we are also expanding things because we need to go past what those reports have done in the past to make them more actually utilize new technology. That's the best way to explain it. Okay. So first thing is if you want to set up the tile, it's pretty easy. You just simply go to tiles, create tile. And then you should have a new aged invoice customer tile. And again, this is starting this weekend. And for most of you, just simply say create. That's it. You're done. Now,
Two
again,
questions.
say again.
We have two questions.
Okay. So
When we print an open order report to show us which orders do not have invoices yet, how can we get the report to print showing the partial invoices as well from manufacturers, for example?
you're trying to, let me see, open order report. Which orders? That's just that's going a little different direction. You can actually go to the orders report and show the balance due on it. And I believe you can also show, it's a little out of spec here. So go to reports, uh, customizable order listing. You have to go from the order to show it there. And then it's just a layout option, actually. You can show invoice. Didn't prepare for this. First thing is you can have the invoice amount. So you can literally run, this is the orders report, by the way, and you can actually show the aging off of the orders report, which is kind of nice. So then you have your order, and then as you know, you could actually have 4 or 5 invoices associated with that order and kind of roll that as columns, if you will. And then you should have uh, invoice payable, receivable. Shoot. I'm not seeing it right now, but I know you can put the print the invoice list as well, which will give the invoice numbers. The one thing you can't do is have like a PO and then invoices. We don't have them stacked like that. That's actually something that I'd kind of like to do, but just haven't done at this time. Shoot, I'm not seeing it. Make a note to post as part of the follow-up, William, on how to actually show the invoices from an order, and we can post that forward. Any other questions?
Yes. Is there a way to identify orders waiting for pro formas to be paid?
Okay. So that one is actually back on the invoices. In the way I do it anyway, there might be a way to do that on the orders. I'd have to think about that one as well. Good questions. I didn't prepare as much as I thought. Invoice that listing, and what you'll want to do is say that you want a deposit invoice. We don't use the term pro forma, we use the term deposit. And as long as you have a deposit invoices in the system, you do the same thing and say that they're new. And once you do that, you'll see them until they actually are completely paid and closed out of the system. But it's basically just and by the way, you don't even have to click sell. You could, but by definition, a deposit invoice is a resell order. Okay. Any other questions? That's good stuff.
None right now.
Okay. And the question on the partial and everything like that, we might get back with him on that one. I got questions. So some of this gets pretty deep in the weeds there. Okay. Any other questions there? So get Jay Davis's question, and we'll have to follow back on that one because that one's got my attention. That one has me curious because I think I know what's going on, but I'd have to think about that a little bit more, and it takes a minute to process that. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll jump back into the tile and kind of go back here. By the way, I love questions. It makes this more interesting, although it makes me sweat a little bit too, which is fun. All right, so log back into Oasis online, and I'll show you how to create the tile. And we're following a lot of the same concepts on the online version when we set up these tiles. And the goal is to introduce new technology, new ideas, but also keep with some of the same themes, so it isn't very different than what Oasis, basically with the way you're trained to use Oasis. So this is my home screen, if you will, inside of online, if you haven't been there. And what I'll do is go to tiles and I'll create one. It's the aged customer invoice tile. You can name it just like a saved report, and that's basically what a tile is. It's kind of like a report plus some history plus some other tech. It's almost like a report becomes a bot, if you will. There's a lot of things that these things do now, which is fun. And you can add different people to this. What's neat about this report is it auto updates automatically for you in the background, and it does it on certain time frames. That's all on our help out there. But I could actually set some thresholds very similar to some of the other reports we have. So the aged invoice report that we had, the older one, we borrowed a lot of the concepts. So maximum amount of paid, minimum amount of paid, either percentage or dollars. And this is just what the customers have been asking for over the years. Customers, you want to track a specific customer, order assigned to. Basically, this is going back to the salesperson. So maybe you want to set one of these up for one of your salespeople so they can see what's going on. Contractor, distributor, specifier, work groups. This has been a biggie here recently with it's always been with the distributors out there, but definitely reps are getting bigger and bigger, and it's the same issue there. And then resale company. The reason why I did resale company is we do have some groups that will split their controls one way and then their other resale items in another uh, business unit, for lack of a better. Okay. All right. So that's how it's set up. I'm just going to go back and show you my current one so we don't have to wait for it to refresh. And when you look at it, it shows, and this is the part I love, is it shows immediately what's going on here. This is fake data, so it's kind of, I'd be concerned right now why we have such a big over 90 out there and would want to dig into that. But again, this is just kind of junk data. But what I do want to see, obviously, is a nice tall blue line over here, and that shows what's at, basically how much. It shows that our invoices went out, and then it should kind of slope down. That's what I normally say. A lot of big dollars early on, and then it goes forward. Which, by the way, that's what we show on the commission side. For those asking about that, I just need to do the other webinar because it gets a little more complicated with commissions and overage there. Main thing is if you're on the desktop version, you can hover over it and it shows what's going on here. You can't really do that on most mobile devices, but in some cases you can kind of touch it in one way and it shows you that value, that little pop-up right there. But anyway, you get a lot of information for me, at least just monitoring what's going on right here. Now, there are a few things we did add that should help anybody actually reconcile or managing the age invoices out there. And part of this is when you run a report, it's static. In other words, you get a PDF out of it or print screen. And what we've had customers do more and more is being able to click in and actually drill into the data. So first thing is I do have all my summaries here by customer. And then I can go through and show details as well. By the way, at the top, I see all the kind of totals, if you will. And I forgot this. So you end up with the total amount, how many invoices are associated with it all the way across. And it just gives me kind of a bird's eye view of what's going on here. Then when I'm in the details view, and there's a couple ways to get here, but when you're in the details view, I can show it by customer or by aging. What's nice by aging is then I can go down and really focus on maybe the over 90. So let me do that real quick. So these are usually the ones I'm most interested in, over 90. So at this point, I can go through and say, okay, well, what do I need to do here? So if I click into one, we have this little summary screen right here that we're showing more and more information on this. So who's the salesperson associated with it? What's the date and due date? It's overdue, obviously. And again, some total. And if we'd received a little bit of money on there, that shows here as well. So a lot of this is just simply showing us a little bit of what's going on inside the system. This is an odd deck over here showing an odd receivable there. But test data, sorry about that. Now, in addition to that, you can actually click and go into the actual invoice, and we're playing with different things here as well. That little symbol right there, the whole purpose of that is saying, hey, we're going to jump to another tab to open that invoice instead of staying within this one. So we're again changing things up a little bit, just trying to make it a little more user friendly because sometimes people didn't know when they're opening a new tab or not. So look for those little symbols as we do that. And at this point, I'm in the invoice on the online version for those of you that been on the online version. And from here, I can do whatever I need to do on the invoice. Okay.
We have a question of
Yeah.
who should be on the desktop version.
Who should be on the desktop version? Um, uh, you can be on the desktop version or the online version, and we have some people that switch between the two. There's a longer conversation there, but um, the the desktop version, most people already have it installed and ready to go. So if you got that, use it. If you have the online version, just uh, uh, call support and we show you how to get in or how to use it. But you should be able to use both. Not sure how to talk through the who there. Interesting question. If there's more to the question, just pop that on there and I'll dig a little deeper. But yeah, pretty much anybody. Now, any questions so far? The main thing here is we're really trying to get back to some things that I've wanted to do for years, and that is you really just start running the report or have it auto update. And again, it's not going to update immediately. So this will run basically once a night and show you the aging, giving you the opportunity to kind of run through and deal with all your over 90s, as the case may be, or simply identify, some totals and find out who maybe your people that you need to go talk to for whatever reason. Okay. And then next day it'll update and give you fresh data on that. Okay. Now, the other part that I like is once a month it's going to do a snapshot and do trends. So this hasn't been running more than a month. I created a couple of weeks ago as I was preparing for this webinar. But over time, it's going to start showing a trend on this. And this is the part I'm most excited about, to be quite honest. And anybody who has resale probably has similar thoughts what I'm about to say as far as the way they look at business. And that is, I kind of know where my under 30 is going to be, and I kind of know what I want my over 90 to be below. And what that does is it gives you a picture as a manager or an owner to say, hey, we're trending up or trending down. In a good way or a bad way. So obviously, we're hoping our under 30 continues to trend up and it gets paid. And then it doesn't move to these others. And then you're over 90, if that starts peaking up, you have to start asking some questions. In a lot of our customers' cases, it may be, are we having problems on jobs and people are sitting on invoices for some reason? That may be what's going on there. But it gets you another way of looking at real information, say, hey, we got a problem out there. We need to go talk about it and figure out how we're going to resolve it. But this whole historical part on this is there where I'm most excited there. So, okay, whew, made it through the tile. Any other good questions there?
No,
Okay.
right now.
All right. Let me see where I'm at because I have a tendency to kind of go through this stuff. I get excited, sorry, and skip some stuff. So the desktop report, we did agent. I went to I should have came back here first. Older report, but easy to run. We already did that one. The invoice summary report, love it, but it's a little harder to use. I'm totally honest on that one. But you can build the report your way and tweak it. I know we can do the report that was being asked for there. I just have to think about it for a second because we have so many different features we've added because customers ask for them. Otherwise, we wouldn't put them in there. And yeah, I got to think about that one. The invoice summary report will be in the online version. They're actually building that one out now. I don't have a timeline on that one because it is a fairly complex report, as you can see, with all the buttons and the dragging and everything else in there. The aged invoice or the older report will also be pulled in the online version. We're going to keep it because it's just dirt simple to run, and people have been using it for decades. All right. The online tile, we already talked through that. Excellent manager owner view. I'll be honest, as an owner, I'll simply click on my little home screen over here. I'll look at various tiles. This has become one of my favorite ones. There are others that I like for more forward looking, but this confirms where things are at, if I have a problem or not. And, it helps you sleep better if you're trying to take vacation and trying to disconnect, but you still have to think about it a little bit because that's kind of your job. And then viewable on desktop and mobile devices. So the desktop browsers, what I should say, and the mobile devices. Right now, I guess that was the question up there. The tiles really just work on the online or browser version. So it's the either mobile device or a browser, and you have to have the online version of Oasis to do that. The desktop version, we tried to push the tiles to the desktop version, and it was difficult. We had too many issues, and user satisfaction just wasn't there. Some people loved them and got mad at us because we turned them off, but we just couldn't gain traction there. It's not to say it's going to remain that way, but for right now, the desktop version will not have tiles, at least for now. All right, let me see. Yeah, what I like about the online tile is it can be used as a clickable report. I'm a big fan of those because I'm already there. Why should I have to rekey the invoice number in another system to go track down the invoice and maybe close it out because we're just not going to argue with the customer anymore about the last $5 or whatever the case is. But I don't have to key it in. I just click in, do the thing, and then off I go. And that trending is a big bonus. So I guess I did do all the details there. Yeah, I did it from memory. All right. What questions do we have? I'm trying to keep these a little shorter, by the way, and because I get too excited and want to talk about a lot of different stuff. But any questions? Well, we got some good questions earlier. William, make sure that we have those so we can get back to the users on that. We'll just send that out with everything else. And I do appreciate everyone's time to spend a little bit of time with us talking about Oasis and all this. Hopefully, if you got the snow, we're Southerners, we're not used to this stuff, but hopefully, if you got some snow, you're staying warm and happy. So, with that, I do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.